I had my video app on instead of Instagram. Let me get Instagram up. Two, one. All right. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Welcome to today's episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thank you so much. Welcome to our channel. Welcome to our episode. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. Our topic for today is what just happened to immigration appeals. All right. And why does this matter for you? Even if you're not appealing something, why does this matter? And so welcome. Thank you for being here, and let's talk it through. As always, the Empowered Immigrant Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. All right. Today, our theme is what just happened to immigration appeals. And my question for you is, do you want to get a green card? Do you want to apply for citizenship? Do you want to apply for a U visa or VAWA or for asylum? Or do you want to figure out what the best strategy is, what the best option is, what the best solution is for your immigration status, for your immigration issue, for your immigration future? Because if so, go for it. And I'd love to help you with that in any way that I can. My firm is on a mission to win 10,000 immigration cases in the next 10 years. We would love for your case to be one of them. All right. So thank you for being here. And as I'm talking about the various topics that I'll share today, if you have questions, I want to answer your questions. All right. So there's two ways to do that. One is you could submit your questions in writing in whatever chat or channel you're viewing me from, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, right? And so whatever channel you're viewing from, feel free to submit your question. The alternative is my team will put a link in those different platforms as well, and you could, if you are willing, join me right here, right now, live, and actually ask me your question right here, right now, live on the internet. Whichever method you prefer is completely fine with me. All right? And so welcome. Again, my name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. I'm also our host here of the Empowered Immigrant Live. So I've got multiple challenging kind of bad news. This whole immigration world right now feels like delivering bad news after bad news. And that is a bit of what our episode is today, unfortunately. All right. The first case that it's important, all right, it's important to know about it. It's important to understand it so that you can navigate around it where possible. Okay. Last Friday, February 6th, the Fifth Circuit, which the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in Texas, published a big case, all right, big case, agreeing with and deciding in favor of the government's position in the case of matter of Yahure Hurtado, which I've done several episodes on right now, saying that undocumented immigrants are indeed subject to mandatory detention. Okay? In other words, if a person is physically in the United States but has never been admitted to the United States, that they are subject to mandatory detention, according to the Fifth Circuit, even opposed to hundreds, even despite the ruling contrary by hundreds now of federal court judges throughout the United States. So huge impact. This case is the case of Buenrostro Mendez versus Bondi, Pam Bondi being the Attorney General. All right. So this decision has huge consequences for undocumented immigrants, not just in the Fifth Circuit, but in the whole country. All right. And this is what you got to know. Imagine you're an immigrant and you're detained in California. Imagine you're an immigrant, you're detained in Arizona or Minneapolis or Florida or New York or wherever, And then imagine that ICE transfers you to somewhere in the Fifth Circuit, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, right? Which they are doing, and they're going to do more of. Cases like this, it's like, okay, the government is going to want to transfer more people to the Fifth Circuit. And if so, once they're in the Fifth Circuit, boom, this law applies and people are subject to mandatory detention. You're going to be stuck in detention until a judge decides your case. Big deal. All right. That is a huge problem for folks. And so how do we fight against that, or how do we prepare against that? The more prepared we can be ahead of time, like imagine you've got a lawyer already who has prepared an application for habeas. So immediately when you're detained, we can file that thing. All right. And I have multiple clients now that have hired me to prepare that type of habeas for their situation. And that is a way to do this. All right. That is a way to prepare so that if detained, boom, we can act immediately, very quickly, same day, within hours, submit a full lawsuit suing the government, challenging that their detaining you was unlawful. All right. And so that's possible. So I wanted to share that. That's like breaking news because it just happened. And the other news that you got to be aware of, and the topic for today is what is happening with immigration appeals. All right. So last week, the government issued a new, they call it an interim final rule. All right. And this rule is set to go into effect on March 9th of 2026. So it's not in effect quite yet, but we're talking less than a month. All right. This rule will go into effect. All right. It amends several regulations relating to the Board of Immigration Appeals. All right. What it is doing is it is creating a streamlined administrative appeals process. All right. It's taking the Board of Immigration Appeals, which reviews and decides cases where judges may have made mistakes. And it's saying, like, the Board of Immigration Appeals will still exist, but the vast majority of appeals there will just be rubber stamped. It'll just be rubber stamped. This appeal is going to be sustained or dismissed. Rubber stamp, right? And so what they're saying is it makes a review of the merits of a actual decision, quote unquote, discretionary, up to the discretion of the members of the Board of Immigration Appeals. All right. And so if the members of the Board of Immigration Appeals don't make a decision about hearing the actual merits, the actual legal arguments in any given case, then that appeal will be dismissed, and it will be dismissed quickly, like within 15 days of the appeal. All right. And the appeal deadline is going to be reduced. Right now, if somebody's ordered deported in immigration court, a person has 30 days to decide and review and hire a new attorney and figure out what their game plan is and then file an appeal, right? And then it gets scheduled for a briefing, and then it gets put in the queue for a briefing schedule. You don't even know when your brief is due when you file your appeal right now. And then you write the brief with all of the arguments. We're talking right now, my firm routinely does, we're talking 20 to 25 page documents explaining every reason why the judge made a mistake in denying your case. And we submit that to the BIA, right? That's all going away, folks. It's all going away. No more 30 days. We've got 10 days to file an appeal with a couple of exceptions, but basically you got 10 days to appeal. All right. And your brief is due in 20 days. All right. And there's no reply briefs. So the government issues a response or an opposition to our brief. We can't submit anything else. All of our arguments have to be in that initial one. And we'll have to do it without even the full record, right? Because we have to do it within 20 days. It is um, uh, putting an immigration case um, into a pressure cooker, right? It's like whatever makes it in before the lid closed, it's like that's it, and the pressure's on, and it's like uh, it's not going to be as good. It's just it undermines due process. All right, it undermines. Like, what if the judge makes a total mistake in the case? That happens all the time. And now you want appeal to the BIA saying, look, the judge made several legal mistakes. They're wrong. They should have approved my case under the law and they denied it, right? So we appeal. Well, they're just what this change is saying is that the Board of Immigration Appeals is just going to rubber stamp the judge's denial in the vast majority of cases. All right. Which means what? Which means they're going to deny it. And so now we've got to be prepared and ready to go to federal courts. So yeah, the BIA will deny it because that they're not going to be. I mean, there will be lawsuits, I believe, that will challenge these regulations. Um, but setting that aside, if once these regulations go into effect in less than a month, then uh, the BIA will deny our cases, and we will need to go and just file in federal court. And we'll need the federal courts to uphold the laws because that's what federal courts are good at. And unfortunately, the immigration system is less and less good at it. Okay. That's what I wanted to share this morning. That's what I wanted to share this morning. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. So now the question is like, how do we best prepare our immigration cases knowing that this will happen? And the answer is we've got to prepare so well and so thoroughly and so professionally from the beginning that if the judge denies it, we can appeal to the BIA. And when they deny it, we can appeal to the federal courts. And that's going to be the solution to maximize people's chances of actually having a fair process. All right, actually receiving due process. And that's difficult, right? And there will be instances where cases will lose and they shouldn't have. But the best advice is let's prepare and let's do as best as we possibly can to put every issue in front of the judge originally. Like the best way to do this is to win on your first shot because the appeal process is going to be weaker and weaker. All right. And it is still possible to win on the first shot. And so we gotta keep that in mind, and we want to maximize our chances of doing that. All right, so that's what I got here today. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know what questions that you have, and I'll start answering them. And if anybody wants to ask them right here, right now with me live, then feel free to do that. Okay. Tumbleweeds are real. Good to see you. You say, when are they going to give us a break and bring us some good news? Yeah, that's right. That's right. I also wonder that. I also wonder that. Thank you for being here and thank you for asking that. Jefferson Brooks, you say, is there a class action lawsuit against the government for the 39 countries that are on pause? Yes, for the 40 countries that are on pause. So remember, there are multiple travel bans. All right. There's the 40 country travel ban for national security issues. And then there's the 75 country travel ban for public charge issues. All right. And there are lawsuits pending for both of those. Those lawsuits are not going to be easy. All right. And so, we'll see what comes of them. I did an episode, I want to say 2 weeks ago, Jefferson, just so you're aware. I did an episode, I think 2 weeks ago, explaining the case of Hawaii versus Trump. And that was a federal court case where the state of Hawaii sued the first Trump administration about the first Trump administration's travel bans, and they lost. And that was a US Supreme Court decision. And so because of that case, it's going to make new lawsuits against these new travel bans more challenging. I'm not saying that they can't succeed. I'm just saying they're going to be difficult for them to succeed. Feel free to check out, that's in our YouTube channel if you want to go back and see that to really understand it. But that is what's happening. All right, let's see. What other questions are out there? Feel free to submit them. I'll do my best to answer them all. Any questions that are out there? Mark, I see your question. You say, is it safe to get your marriage license at a Fort Lauderdale courthouse? Um, you know, uh, by and large, yes, right? By and large, yes. I don't have I don't have actual personal knowledge of what's going on in Fort Lauderdale right here, right now. It's definitely not at the courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, but if you're going to get married, go get married, all right? And then if you're going to file a marriage-based case, for example, for adjustment of status, then get good advice about going through that process. My office, we're here to help. We'd love to help if you have questions about that. All right. All right, La Niñera, what was the news? I mean, there's two cases that I decided to, or that I shared. Well, one is a case from the Fifth Circuit saying that undocumented immigrants are subject to mandatory detention if detained. All right, no bond eligible. And if and the new regulations regarding the Board of Immigration Appeals and Immigration Appeals. Both of these are bad news. Feel free to go back and watch the first part of the video if you'd like to really understand everything that I said there. All right. Main Barry, can I win citizenship while owing money to the IRS? I have. It is possible. Owing money to the IRS can be seen as a good moral character issue. Okay. And so, but if you are on a payment plan to the IRS, and if you're like, yes, I owe them money, but I am paying them what I owe them, right? And here's my history of paying them off, right? Like I legitimately owed them back taxes, and I am legitimately paying them off, and here's my record of paying them off, and here's, 20 letters from friends and community members or whatever. It doesn't even need to be 20 necessarily that all will share that I'm a person of good moral character, etc. Like, yes, it is still possible to become a citizen even with back taxes, but you do have to show that you are a quote unquote person of good moral character as they define it, which, they do look at that. They do look at the payment history of your taxes. Okay. Let's see. So Elizabeth 78, so Aus Maine, I should let you know, like I have done it, I have won it, it is doable. And if you want a consultation about it, please feel free to contact our office. All right. We're here to help. We'd love to help. Okay. Elizabeth 78, you say, how long, in your opinion, do you think that travel ban will last? You know, it will last until there is enough political pressure against the current administration to get them to take it down. Right? And so it's like if the travel ban is really frustrating for you, call your congressperson, right? And that's true for everybody listening to me. If any of these things are like, I've had it, this is ridiculous, call your member of Congress, tell them. And it's like they've got to feel the pressure for them to change their mind. All right. Or they've got to negotiate things with the countries, or it's going to have a significant impact on the US economy. Like all the travel bans that are in place, there are studies that say that half of the people who would be immigrating, even temporarily coming to the US in 2026, will not be coming to the US. Like that's going to have an impact in the economy, right? And so I think that once that impact gets felt, maybe there will be a change also. But none of these solutions are going to be fast, right? Our current um, political administration is not one that will make one decision and then change their mind quickly. They do like to make rash decisions relatively quickly. I don't know, but I don't see it's going away anytime soon, in my opinion. Okay. All right, Jester Cruz, I see your question here. I was detained at the border entering the country, but released. Can I do a habeas corpus if ICE detains me? So it's difficult in your situation. All right, it's difficult in your situation. There's a BIA case called Matter of Q Lee, which you could look at. I've done a video about that probably last year sometime, maybe May of last year, I think Matter of Q Lee was decided. And that case says that so it depends on what process you went through at the border. All right. But my best advice, Mr. Cruz, would be to have a consultation with an attorney, and you can certainly prepare a habeas. Whether or not you would win a habeas, or whether or not it's going to be a strong habeas, you would want to do a consultation with an attorney who knows how to do that type of lawsuit, and you'd want to do that first, have the consultation first, and then decide whether or not it's worth it for you to actually hire for that type of service. Okay. All right. Tumbleweeds are real. I see your question here. Do you believe that other circuit courts may follow suit? Um, well, here's what I think will happen with the Fifth Circuit case. I think that it's going to be the Fifth Circuit, and I believe it's going to be the Ninth Circuit. And I believe that I think that the Ninth Circuit will rule the opposite, and the Fifth Circuit will rule as it did. And they call it a circuit split, where the law is being interpreted differently in different parts of the country. We call this a circuit split. And when that happens, then it's like ready to go up to the US Supreme Court. So the US Supreme Court will decide, and the US Supreme Court may very well decide with the Fifth Circuit, because they've been doing that, right? Not across the board, but generally speaking, and on immigration cases, we've seen that. And so that might be where this is headed. Okay. Noel Diaz, does this new rule retroactively affect cases that filed before the new appeal rule? No, it does not. And it's yet to be seen, because I did see something in this regulations that says that they'll be going through old appeals and seeing where they can expedite a decision in them, because they are trying to work through the backlog at the BIA, but it's not clear is the answer, or at least I'm not clear. I don't see anything that directly says that this new process will apply retroactively. In fact, the initial part of the regulations say that it will not go into effect right now, and it will go into effect after the four cases that are filed on appeal after March 9th of 2026. Okay. Great question, though. I'm concerned about that also. Santos Pineda, you say, I'm in the process of divorce with a permanent resident and we have two kids. Any chance for VAWA? I'm sorry that you're going through a divorce process. VAWA, the question for VAWA is, have you been subject to either physical abuse, or have you been subject to quote unquote extreme cruelty in your marriage? And your marriage has to have been entered into good faith. You've got two kids, I see that, with a green card holder or a US citizen. So I see you're married to a green card holder. So really the big fundamental question is, have you been the victim of quote unquote physical abuse, where you've been like harmed physically, or have you been the victim of quote unquote extreme cruelty, which can be all kinds of different things. All right. I've actually got videos where I describe the different types of things that might be considered for quote unquote extreme cruelty, right? Um, What's an example? I don't know. Maybe you've never been harmed physically, but maybe there's been maybe financial abuse. You've been cut off from your own finances by your spouse, right? Or you've been controlled in some way by your spouse, or you've been subject to verbal abuse constantly by your spouse. I hope that you're not in any of these situations. I hope that you're not in any of these situations. But if you are, you might have a chance for VAWA, and you should talk it through with an attorney, and we can help you evaluate, right, whether or not you have a case that would be worth filing. Um, so, you don't want to do this if you have a weak case, right? Because it can be a risky thing to do. And so, depending on what your immigration status is and whether or not you have any, like imagine you file for a VAWA-based adjustment of status and imagine you lose, like you could be sent to immigration court. You could be given a notice to appear in immigration court, right? And so you have to be ready to defend yourself, and you could do that through VAWA, right? You could do that. You could continue the case in front of an immigration judge, but you got to be ready to go all the way if it's that type of case. And so talk it through with a lawyer. Feel free to contact my office. We do VAWA cases all the time. All right. So please feel free to give us a call if we can help you. All right. We're here to help. We'd love to help, but that is the way it is. All right. I think those are all the questions that I've got here. I don't see that anybody has asked any or like raise their hand to be in the live session. I don't see that. And so that's fine. And so I think that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I think that is the story for this beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. My name is Otis Landerholm. Hey, if this content was useful, if it was helpful, please give me a thumbs up or a heart or a like or a subscribe. If you really want to follow our content, please go to our channel in YouTube and hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell. It just takes a second to do. All right. We just passed 23,000 subscribers. Now I'm going for 25,000 subscribers. Please help me out. I'd really appreciate it. All right. Just takes a moment. Maria, I see your question here. What steps does a person need to put a habeas aside? What steps does a person need to put a habeas aside? I don't know. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if I understand that question. To file a habeas, you need an attorney. All right. This is not something that you can do with, well, if you're literally detained, in theory, you could do it on your own in detention, but don't do that. Do not do that. All right. And when I prepare a habeas, we're talking the writ for a petition of habeas corpus. We're talking a motion for a temporary restraining order. We're talking some of my clients want me to proceed under a pseudonym, so you don't have all of your information published in the federal courthouses throughout the United States. All right. So we just use your initials to protect your privacy. All right. We do declarations. We prepare the evidence like it is a packet. All right, of legal work. For me to do one, like it takes me about a week. All right, to really write everything that needs to be written in order to prepare a habeas ahead of time, and that's just the reality. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. Camille, I see your question here. You say, how long can the pause be removed for immigrant visas? Yeah, I answered that earlier a little bit. Your guess is as good as mine. All right, I think that the pause will remain in effect for a while. Okay, for a while until there's political pressure or economic pressure for them to change it. Okay. So that's my answer. All right, you guys, thank you all so much for being here. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. if you have an immigration case that you want actual legal help with your immigration situation, please feel free to reach out. All right, we're happy to do a consultation. My consultation team is amazing. All right, everybody that calls us gets a free case evaluation. And then in that process, my intake team can help you book a consultation if you decide to do that. And so we're here to help. We'd love to help. All right. My name is Otis Landerholm. That's all I got for today. Landerholm Immigration APC, where we fight for your American dream. And we'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Make it a great day, folks. Thank you all so much. Take care. Bye-bye.